morning. It's Sunday morning, and I'm recording a shir for tomorrow morning, Monday morning. I hope everyone had a good Shabbat. I hope that everybody's families and extended families and everyone you know is healthy. It was interesting that I received a few emails from Israel that some of our alumni who are there have been tuning into our YouTube channel and learning and finding inspiration from it, which is gratifying. Also, we had a Matzai Shabbos alumni shir on Zoom. I finally learned how to use that, and it was heartening to see that the Talmudim from Israel are back home and are strengthening and reinforcing and inspiring their families. Their families can see the jewelry that has come home and how much their children have grown from their time in Israel. Unfortunately, on one hand, it was cut short, but on the other hand, they have a chance to take whatever it is that they gained and use it to inspire their families. We're up to the Chavav Amud Bet. Just to review a little bit with you what we learned on Friday, we learned that there are some things that are called Tashmishay Mitzvah. They serve as mitzvot, like shofrot, lulav, etrog, schach, tzitzit. These things serve as mitzvot. And these things can be discarded as long as they're discarded in a respectful manner. Double wrapping them without putting them with dirty garbage. On the other hand, certain things are called Tashmishay Kedusha. They serve as things that are called Kodesh. What's called Kodesh? Things that have Hashem's name in it, like a Sefer Torah, Tefillin, Mezuzot, and things that serve as Dvarim Shel Kodesh need Geniza. An Aron Kodesh needs Geniza. Covers of a Sefer Torah need Geniza. Your Tefillin bag needs Geniza. The cover of a mezuzah needs Geniza, because all these things are Tashmishay Kedusha. They serve as things of Kodesh, not merely mitzvot. We talked about the distinction of photocopies. Again, if it has God's name, then it's Kodesh. But if it just has learning on it, if it's for temporary use, then if there's no choice, and in today's time with all the photocopies we make, there is no choice. So if it's for one-time use, then it's used for a mitzvah. And if it's used for a mitzvah, it can be discarded in a respectful manner, like the Begavra Legavra articles that I hand out on Friday can be discarded in a respectful manner. But if it's kept for long-term use, like workbooks that have psukim in it, even if it doesn't have God's name, but they're meant for long-term use, they become Tashmishay Kedusha, and therefore they need Geniza. Last thing we discussed, that even things that serve as Kodesh, which needs Geniza, is only if it not only protects it, but only enhances it. For instance, as I said, the cover of a Sefer Torah is a beautiful cover. The cover, your tefillin bag is a nice bag, and the mezuzah cover is usually a decorative cover. But if a Sfarim store had mezuzah shipped to it from Israel in an envelope or in a box, that box is not meant to enhance or decorate it, it's only to protect it, then it's not called Tashmishay Kedusha, and it can be discarded. We start from it. 12 lines from the bottom, Chavav Amud Bet. Hahu Beit Knishta, there was a Beit Knesset, the Yehudoi Romai, that Jews who came from Rome, and these Jews who came from Rome lived in a town in Bavel. So they were Roman Jews, but they lived in a town of Bavel. Davaptiach Lahu Indrona. This Beit Knesset had a door that was open to another room, and in the other room was kept for holding a body before a funeral. To have a mochid be'met, and in the other room actually had a body, mochid be, lying there. So there's an open door now between this room where the body is and the Beit Knesset. V'hababo kahani, and Kahanim wanted Lemail to enter the Beit Knesset, even from a different door. L'tzaluyahatim, to pray in the Beit Knesset. But their problem is, since there was an open door between the Beit Knesset and the room where the corpse was, Tumah from the corpse entered the Beit Knesset, and Kohanim cannot go in there because Kohanim are prohibited from becoming Tameh from corpse Tumah. Atu, so the people came, Amru le Rav, and told Rava the problem. Amar Luhu, so Rava said, I have a solution. Delu, pick up Tevuta, the Aron Kodesh, Otvua, and place it in the doorway between the Beit Knesset and the room where the corpse is. Well, how will that help? Because there's a rule that a utensil can become Tameh. And if a utensil can become Tameh, it cannot block Tumah. But in order for something to be called a utensil, it has to be something which is mobile. And Rava thought, the Havalei Kli Eitz Ha'asui Lenachat. The Aron Kodesh is a wooden utensil, but it's meant to sit in one place, like a bookcase. It's not a mobile object. And therefore, Kli Eitz, a wooden utensil, Ha'asui, which is made Lenachat, to sit in one place and not to be moved around, Ein Makabel Tumah, cannot become Tumah, cannot contract Tumah. And therefore, V'chotzes B'fnei HaTumah. Therefore, it will be valid to block Tumah from going from the room with the corpse into the Beit Knesset. Amrulei Rabbanan l'Rava, so the Rabbanan said to Rava, unfortunately, your advice is not going to work. V'azimnin, sometimes, that's Zman, sometimes, Dimitaltlilei, the Aron Kodesh is manipulated, it's moved, Kimanach Sefer Torah ilavei, when they put a Sefer Torah upon it, it would seem that they sometimes took the Aron Kodesh, took the Sefer Torah out, put the Aron Kodesh maybe on its side, and used the Aron Kodesh as a bima. But what's happening is the Aron Kodesh is being moved. V'havalei mitaltalo. So now the Aron Kodesh is mobile and is mobilized. It's moved. Molei v'rekam, sometimes full, sometimes empty, and therefore it now is a utensil. If it's a utensil, it can contract tumah and cannot block tumah. Ihachi, if so, he said lo efsher. If so, Rava said, there's nothing that I can do for you. I just want to point out that we hold that even though today all Kohanim are already considered Tamei Met, it's still prohibited for them to be exposed to Tumat Met anyway. Amar Marzutra says, Mitbechot Sfarim, the covers of Sfarim, even Sifrei Torah, Shebalu, if they're worn out, and because they are Tashmishay Kedusha, they need to be buried. Osin otan tachrichel l'meit mitzvah. You make shrouds from those covers of a Sefer Torah. That's garments that you cover a body with, but a body of someone that doesn't have anybody to take care of him and he doesn't have anybody to pay for shrouds. So you bury him in the cover of a Sefer Torah. Bezuhi genizatan, and that's how you're going to bury the cover of the Sefer Torah. A Sefer Torah has Torah in it, and it's very kodesh. These are the words given to by Hashem to us. But a person is a person who learns the Torah. A person is a person who keeps the Torah. We learned many times that even empty people of the Jewish people, even people that are unlearned, still have as many mitzvot as the seeds of a pomegranate. And therefore it's most appropriate that the cover of a Sefer Torah, which is an inert object of Kedusha, should cover the body of a Jewish man who was a living and moving and practicing object of Kedusha. Rava says, Sefer Torah Shabbat, if a Sefer Torah wore out, Gonzin Oto Etzel Talmud Chacham, and you need to bury it, so you bury it next to a scholar. Vafilu Shon Halachot, even if the scholar was only someone who learned halachot. There's a difference between learning halachot and actually being in the presence of somebody who rules on halachic issues, because then you see the halachot that you learned, how to apply them in practice. But let's say there's a Talmud Chacham who never actually had the residency, so to speak. He never saw the halachot in practice, but he learned them. It's still good enough, and you can bury a Sefer Torah next to him. Amar Rav Acha bar Yaakov says, Ubechli cheres, and when you bury the Sefer Torah, bury it in a clay utensil, shenemar, as it says in Yirmiyahu Perek Lamed Bet, that right before the destruction of Jerusalem, Hashem told Yirmiyahu to buy land as an indication that the Golus is only going to be for 70 years, and if he buys land, he'll have the land when the Jews come back after the 70 years. In any case, Yirmiyahu bought the land, and he had the document of sale written up, and he had the document put into a clay utensil so that the parchment would last for a long time, that when the exile of Bavel and the 70 years are over, he'll have his document in hand to take possession of his land. You know that the Dead Sea Scrolls found in the Qumran caves were found in clay utensils, because clay utensils seemingly preserve the parchment. And what's interesting is that although we're burying this worn out Sefer Torah and we can't use it anymore, but we still show every respect to it, that we're protecting the parchment that should last as long as possible. That's why we bury it in clay. Many, many years ago, there was a fire in the Beit Knesset of Belz on Jean Mans, and some Sefer Torah were burnt and became unusable. They were buried in the cemetery in Saint Sophie. Eventually, Rabbi Hirschsprung was buried right next to where those Sefer Torah are buried. It seems that he had already dedicated that place to be his grave, and therefore they knew it was going to be his grave, and they buried the Sefer Torah that were burnt next to the Talmud Chacham who was going to be buried there. Amar Rav Papi Mishmei de Rava. Rav Papi said in the name of Rava, Mi Beit Knishta lebei Rabbanan Shari. If you have a Beit Knesset where people pray, you're allowed to change it into a Beit Midrash, because a Beit Midrash is higher. It's considered an upgrade in Kedusha. But Mibei Rabbanan, from a place of learning, a Beit Midrash, lebei Knishta, to change it to a Beit Knesset, Asr is prohibited. Because since a Beit Midrash is higher than a Beit Knesset, you can't downgrade it to a place of prayer. Rav Papa, Mishmei de Rava, Matni Yipcha, Rav Papa, the name of Rava, he taught the opposite, that you could change from a Beit Midrash to a Beit Knesset, from a place of learning to a place of prayer, but you cannot change a place of prayer to a place of learning. I'll explain more in a second. Amar Rav Acha, Rav Acha said, Kavotei Rav Papi Mistavra, Rav Papi is more logical, because the Amar Rabbi Shua ben Levi said, Beit HaKnesset muter lasoto Beit Midrash. Rabbi Shua ben Levi also added his name and his weight to the opinion that a Beit Knesset can be changed to a Beit Midrash, because a place of prayer is not as high as a place of learning. Shma Mino, this would be additional weight to Rav Papi's opinion, the first opinion, that a Beit Midrash is higher. Let me explain a little bit. We've talked about this in class many times, that when a person prays, he talks to God. But when a person learns, God talks to him. When a person learns, a person is trying to understand the will of God, the meaning of God, the understanding of God. He bonds with God. So which is higher, when man bonds with God through prayer, from man to God, or when a man bonds with God from God to man, learning and hearing God's voice, hearing God's teaching? From the Gemara, it would seem that the place of learning is higher than a place of prayer. Place of prayer, you are presenting who you are, what you believe and what you want to God. When you learn, God is now making an impression on you. It's going to change you. As you understand God's will, as you understand the God who created the world and the God who gave us the Torah, and you internalize it, it affects a change in you. And that form of communication that affects change is stronger than when man praying to God. It is interesting that sometimes there are places that had both. And this week's parsha is Parshas Vayikra. And in the Mishkan, which was built through the last Parshiot in Shemot, the Mishkan was a place of prayer and a place of learning. It was a place of prayer. People came to the Mishkan to pray, and people brought korbanot, which was a very high form of prayer, form of presenting their prayer to God. But Moshe Rabbeinu, in the first pasuk in this week's parsha, Vayikral Moshe v'adaber Hashem elav mi'ohel moed lemor. Moshe stood in the Ohel Moed, and God spoke to him, and God taught him the Torah. So in the Mishkan, there was a very high, intense level of God's presence, where both man communicated with God and God communicated with man. In the Beit HaMikdash as well, there was a Mizbeach where man communicated with God through the Korbanot, which was a strong form of prayer, presenting the Korbanot to God as if they were presenting their lives to God. But there was also Lishkat HaGazos, the chamber of cut stone, where the Sanhedrin sat, and there they were divinely inspired in their rulings and learned the Torah that God gave to them and inspired them and showed them how they should rule on matters of Torah. In fact, it's interesting that when the Sanhedrin moved out of Lishkat HaGazit, when they moved out of the Beit HaMikdash, they were no longer allowed to rule on capital cases, because only when you have that divine inspiration in such a holy place do you have the right to take a chance to judge on a capital case. The moment you were away from there, they could no longer judge on capital cases. Today, as we will learn later, we no longer have a Beit HaMikdash, but we have our Batei Knesset and Batei Midrash that have become, in a smaller form, those places of communication to God and from God. Dorish Bar Kapora made a drasha, Mai Dechtiv, what does it mean when it writes? Vayisrof et Beit Hashem, Nebuchadnezzar, when he destroyed the Beit HaMikdash, he destroyed the Beit Hashem, the Beit HaMelech, and the house of the Melech, Bet Kol Bata Yerushalayim, and all the houses of Yerushalayim, Bet Kol Beit Gadol, Saraf Be'esh, and every Beit Gadol he burnt in fire. Well, Beit Hashem is a Beit HaMikdash. Beit Hashem is obviously the Beit HaMikdash. Beit HaMelech, Elu Palterin Shel Melech. The Beit HaMelech, these are the palaces of the king. Beit Kol Bata Yerushalayim, and the houses of Yerushalayim, Kimashmon, is the way it sounds. The homes in Yerushalayim. Bet Kol Beit Gadol, Saraf Be'esh. But every Beit Gadol he burnt in fire. What is a Beit Gadol? There's a dispute between Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Shua ben Levi. Haggada one says that Gadol means Mokom Shemagadlim Bo Torah, a place where Torah is promoted. The Haggada one says Mokom Shemagadlim Bo Tefillah, a place where prayer is promoted. So one says Beit Gadol is a Beit Midrash, and the other says a Beit Gadol was a Beit Knesset, or the Batei Midrash and Batei Knesset in Yerushalayim. Man Da'amar, the one that says that Beit Gadol refers to Torah, the Chsiv as it's written, Hashem chafetz leman tzidko, Hashem wanted to make the Jews righteous, therefore Yagdil Torah, he gave us a very great Torah, v'ya'adir, and a powerful Torah. So you see the word Gadol is referring to Torah. Iman Da'amar, but the one that says that Gadol applies to Tefillah, to prayer, the Chsiv, it's written in Melachim Bet Perek Chet, that Yehoram said to a young man, Saprona, please tell me Hagdolot, the great things Asher Asa Elisha, that Elisha did. Velisha Da'avad, the great things that Elisha did, like reviving the child of the Shunamit, Berachmehu Da'avad, he did it by prayer. So Gedolo, the great things that Elisha did, he did through prayer. So there's a pasuk that indicates that Gadol may refer to Torah, Yagdil Torah, or that Gadol may refer to prayer, because Elisha did Gedolot, and he did Gedolot through prayer. This is a dispute between Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Shua ben Levi, but this time I can prove to you that Rabbi Shua ben Levi, Huda Amar, Rabbi Shua ben Levi was the one who said, by the way, the word Tistayim is like the word Siyum, I can finalize. That Rabbi Shua ben Levi is the one who says, Mokom Shemagadlim Bo Torah, that a real Bayit Gadol is a place where Torah is learned. Because Damar Rabbi Shua ben Levi, because Rabbi Shua ben Levi said that a Beit HaKnesset, Mutar Lasot Beit Midrash. We learned just a few minutes ago. Rabbi Shua ben Levi's opinion was like Rav Papi's opinion, that you can turn a Beit Knesset into a Beit Midrash because a place of learning is higher. So therefore, probably it was Rabbi Shua ben Levi who said that Gadol meant a Beit Midrash. Shma Mino, it is proven. Aval Mochru Torah, but if you sell a Sefer Torah, Lo Yikchu Sfarim. You cannot buy Sfarim like Nevi'im and Ketuvim because that would be a downgrade. So you can't use the money for a lower Kedusha. Iboiluhu, the people in Yeshiva had a question. Mahu, what is the law? Limkor Sefer Torah Yashan, can you sell an old Sefer Torah in order to use the money, Likach B'Chodesh, to buy new Sefer Torah? On one hand, Kevan Delo Ma'alila, since you're not Ma'ali, upgrade, since you're not upgrading, also it's prohibited. O Dilma, or perhaps Kevan Deleka La'aluye Iluya Achrina, since it's impossible to upgrade higher than a Sefer Torah, it's the highest Kedusha there is, Shaper Dami, then it's okay. Then you can sell a Sefer Torah and use the money to buy another Sefer Torah. So Toshima, come and listen, I'll try to bring you a proof. The Mishnah says, Aval Machru Torah lo yikchu Sfarim. If you sold the Torah, it's prohibited to buy Nevi'im and Ketuvim. Sfarim, Nevi'im and Ketuvim, hu delo. This is what is prohibited. Ha, implying but, Torah b'Torah, but to sell a Torah in order to buy a Sefer Torah, shaper dummy, because you're not downgrading, and it's shaper dummy, it is okay. The Gemara answers, Matanitan, our Mishnah is speaking di avad, if you already sold the Sefer Torah. Machru, if you sold the Torah, and now you have cash. Now the question is what to do with cash. So with the cash, you can't buy something lower like Nevi'im and Ketuvim. So in Yapad Shua, there's no choice, but you must buy another Sefer Torah. Ki kam mi boyalan, what we were asking was lekatchila. In the first place, should you, could you, are you allowed to sell a Sefer Torah in order to buy another Sefer Torah? But it's clear that if you sold the Sefer Torah, so it's done. And if it's done, for sure you should not buy Nevi'im and Ketuvim. Tashema, I'll bring you a proof. Golulin Sefer Torah b'mitpachot chumashim. You're allowed to wrap a Sefer Torah using a cloth that was used for a scroll that had Bereshit or Shemot or Vayikra or Bamidbar or Devarim, because the Sefer Torah has a higher kedusha than these chumashim, than these individual scrolls. Sefer Torah is the whole thing. So you're allowed to wrap a Sefer Torah in a mitpachat, in a cloth from chumashim. And you're allowed to wrap chumashim b'mitpachot neviim and ktuvim. You're allowed to wrap chumashim with the cloths of neviim and ktuvim, because chumashim are more kodesh than neviim and ktuvim. Avalon neviim and ktuvim b'mitpachot chumashim. But you can't wrap neviim and ktuvim using a wrap and a cover from chumashim. Below chumashim, and you're not allowed to wrap a chumash, a scroll that has just bereshis or shemot, with mitpachot sefer Torah, with a cover that had covered a whole sefer Torah. Ktani miyat, but it was taught, however, that golulin sefer Torah b'mitpachot chumashim, that you can wrap a sefer Torah using a cover that had been on a chumash. Mitpachot chumashim ein. Only from a cover that was on a chumash, you upgrade it to a sefer Torah. But I imply that mitpachot sefer Torah lo, but you can't use from one sefer Torah to another. So it seems that even for sefer Torah for sefer Torah is prohibited, because the Braita only allows you to upgrade from chumashim to sefer Torah. The Gemara says that's not a proof. Ema sefer. Look at the end of the Braita. V'lo chumashim b'mitpachot sefer Torah. You can't take a cover of a sefer Torah to wrap a chumash with it. Ha Torah b'Torah shaper dami. But then again, it implies from one Torah to the other would be allowed. Let me explain. When you tell me that you're allowed to use a cover from a chumash for a sefer Torah, it implies a chumash for a sefer Torah, yes, but Torah for Torah, no. On the other hand, when you say from a Torah to a chumash, not, it implies, Torah to a chumash, not, but Torah to a Torah, yes. So what I know is that from chumash to Torah is yes, and from Torah to chumash is no. But Torah to Torah, I'm not sure. It's in the middle. It can go one way or the other. So Ela Meha, from here, Leka Lemishma, you can't prove anything. I know that it's prohibited to downgrade from a cover of a Torah to a cover of a Chumash. I know it's permitted to upgrade from a cover of a Chumash to a cover to a Torah. I still have no idea if you can use a cover from one Torah for another Torah. Toshima, come and listen, I'll try another proof. Menichel Sefer Torah al Gabi Torah. If you're stacking, and today we have our Sefer Torah lying standing vertically, but sometimes they used to have Sefer Torah lying horizontally, and you're allowed to put one Sefer Torah on top of the other. And of course, with Torah al Gabi Chumashim, you're allowed to put a Torah on a Chumash. And the Chumashim al Gabi Nevi'im and Ktuvim, you're allowed to put a Chumash on books of Nevi'im and Ktuvim. Avalon Nevi'im and Ktuvim al Gabi Chumashim, but you're not allowed to put Navi or Ktuvim on a Chumash, below Chumashim al Gabi Torah. You can't put a Chumash on Torah. And by the way, we need to be more careful in school when there's a Sfarim on a table to make sure that you don't have a sitter on a Chumash or you don't have a Navi on a Chumash. The Chumash should go on top. In any case, what do you see? That you can put a Torah on a Torah. So it implies, or it means, it indicates that even on even, Torah on Torah is fine. The Gemara says, Hanocha Kamrit, you're referring to placing. Shani Hanocha, placing is different. Dolo Efshar, because it's impossible. What do I mean that it's impossible? I'll explain. Because if you're not going to say that, I'll ask you an interesting question. How do you roll a Sefer Torah? When you roll a Sefer Torah, you automatically are having one sheet of parchment on another sheet of parchment. So you're having Torah on Torah. So if Torah on Torah would be prohibited, the Torah would have to be completely unrolled. You couldn't have a turn of parchment on top of another parchment. Ella rather, Kevin Dolev Shorshori. Rather, since it's impossible, so then since it's impossible, it's allowed. So Chanami, the same thing by placing Sefer Torah one on another, Kevin Dolev Shorshori. Since it's impossible, it's allowed. One of the explanations given here is that since you understand, the Gemara just explained to you that when you roll a Sefer Torah, you have to have sheets of parchment of Torah on other sheets. That's how a Sefer Torah is rolled. So therefore they allowed placement of Torah on Torah, even to place a whole Sefer Torah on top of another whole Sefer Torah. Because in placement, for sure, we had to be lenient because there was no choice. But I still don't know whether you're allowed to sell a Sefer Torah in order to acquire money to buy another Sefer Torah, or can you take a cover from one Sefer Torah to put it on another Sefer Torah? Is even for even okay? Toshima. I'll try to bring you another proof. We're struggling with this one. Rabbi Bar Bar said in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, Mishum Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, in the name of the Tana, Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, Lo Yimkar Adam Sefer Torah Yashan. Ooh, it sounds like it's open and shut. You're not allowed to sell an old Sefer Torah, Likach B'Chodesh, to buy a new one. There you go. You're not allowed to. Finished. Hatam der Mishum Pshiyuta. There I'm afraid of negligence. Do you remember we learned the other day that you're not allowed to demolish an old synagogue in order to build a new one? Why? Because Mishum Pshiyuta. I'm afraid the old one will be demolished, and you're not going to build a new one, you'll have nothing. So here too, you're not allowed to sell an old Sefer Torah in order, you're planning to go buy another one, because I'm afraid once you sold the Sefer Torah and you have cash, you may not buy a new one. But Ki Kamrinan, my question was, what I was talking about, Kegon, for instance, the Chtiv, it's written, Umanach, and it's lying there, Li'iparuki, to be redeemed. You have a Sefer Torah for sale. So can you sell the old Sefer Torah when the new one is ready to be purchased? And that I don't know. Toshima, one more time. I'll bring you a proof. Rabbi Yochanan, Mishum Reb Meir. Rabbi Yochanan quoted Reb Meir. Ein mocher in Sefer Torah, you can't sell a Sefer Torah, ela lilmo Torah v'lisa isha. You can't sell a Sefer Torah only if you need the money in order to support yourself to learn Torah, and if you need it in order to get married. Shma mina, so you see, Torah b'Torah shaper dami. To sell the Torah for the purpose of Torah is allowed. Dilma shani limud. Learning Torah is different, because shalimud mevi lidei maaseh. Learning brings to doing. And that's the same idea we talked about earlier. When you buried a meis mitzvah, a dead body that had no one to take care of him, and you buried him using the cover of a Sefer Torah. The cover of a Sefer Torah was a cover of a Sefer Torah that had words in it, and it was very Kodesh. But a man who practices it is even more Kodesh, whether he learned Torah or did mitzvah, and therefore you're allowed to, it's even maybe considered an upgrade, to take the cover of the Sefer Torah and bury a Jewish man in it. And here too, for sure you can sell a Sefer Torah in order to support somebody to learn Torah, because the purpose of the Torah is to be learned, and learning is the greatest. In fact, the Gemara says in Makot, at the end of Makot, that the people in Bavel were fools. They would stand up for a Sefer Torah, they wouldn't stand up for a scholar. A scholar is greater than a Sefer Torah. In fact, the Gemara brings a proof. The Torah says when you give somebody lashes, it's 40. But a Talmud Chacham knows that the 40 means up to 40, it means 39. But that's just an example. A Talmud Chacham knows what the Torah means, and a Talmud Chacham knows how to learn the Torah, and to explain the Torah, and live the Torah. And therefore, for sure, you can sell a Sefer Torah to learn Torah. Isha Nami, the idea also of selling a Torah in order to get married, is because there's a pasuk in Yeshayahu, Perik Mem Hey, Lo Tohu Bra, God did not create the world to be empty, Ela L'Sheves Yitzara. He created it to be settled, and therefore the purpose of the world is that there should be people, and people should live, and people should be healthy, and people should have children. So there's a purpose in the world, and therefore you can sell a Torah, which is very kodesh, in order that there should be a continuity in the world. But Torah, avol Torah b'Torah, but a Torah for Torah, je ne sais pas, I do not know, and therefore this question was never resolved, and. The Rif and the Rambam rule that you're not allowed to sell a Sefer Torah in order to sell another one. In order to buy another one. I'm sorry. Tana Rabbanan, the rabbis taught in a Braita, Lo Yimkar Adam Sefer Torah, a person should not sell a Sefer Torah, Af Pi She Eino Tzarech Lo, even though he doesn't need it anymore. Yeter Al Kain, even more, Amar Rab Shimon Gamliel, if a person doesn't even have what to eat, it doesn't mean he's dying. If he's dying, then you can do anything. It means his provisions are meager. Umachar Sefer Torah, and he sells a Sefer Torah, obito, or he sells his minor daughter as a Amma Ivriya, you won't see a sign of blessing, even though you'll make some short-term money from it, but in the end you're not going to gain by it. Okay. Let me go over the Gemara again in English. If you hold on very tight, I will translate it in English word for word, or I'll try my best. And if you try your best to both see and hear and maybe even use your finger to keep the place, we can do this. Starting from Ahube Knishta, the Yehudai Romai. That Beit Knesset of Jews who came from Rome, that was Patiach opened to a certain Idrona, a room where bodies were kept. That Mechitbe met, there was a dead person lying there, and the Kohanim wanted to enter to pray there. They came and they said to Rava, what problem they had. He said to them, pick up Tevuta the Aron Kodesh and place it in the doorway, because the Havale, it will be a wooden utensil which is made to be immobile, and a wooden utensil that's made to be immobile is not a utensil, it's furniture, and it's not makabel tumah, it cannot become tameh, and therefore it will block the tumah from room to room. The Rabbanan said to Rava, but sometimes the Aron Kodesh is manipulated and to put a Sefer Torah on it, so it is moved around. So then it is mitaltal, it's moved, sometimes full and sometimes empty, so then it becomes a utensil. Ihochi, if so, lo efshar, c'est impossible, there's nothing to do. Mar Zutra said that the covers of Sfarim, even Sifrei Torah that are worn out, you make from it shrouds for a mate mitzvah, somebody that doesn't have who to take care of him, and that's the way to bury it. And I already explained why. Rava says if a Sefer Torah wore out, you bury it next to a Talmud Chacham, even if he only studied the laws and never actually learned how to put them into practice. Rav Acha Bar Yaakov says to put it into a kli cheres, into a clay utensil, to protect it from eroding more. As the pasuk says regarding Yirmiyahu, put the documents into a kli cheres, into a clay utensil, so that it lasts for a long time. Rav Papi, in the name of Rava, said that to change a Beit Knesset of prayer to a Beit Midrash of learning is permitted, because learning is higher. From a place of learning a Beit Midrash to a Beit Knesset is prohibited because a Beit Knesset is lower. Rav Papa, with an aleph in the name of Rava, taught the other way around, that a Beit Knesset is higher. Rav Acha said, Kavotei, according to Rav Papi, Mistavra is more logical, because Rabbi Shua ben Levi adds his weight to Rav Papi and says that a Beit Knesset, you're allowed to make it into a Beit Midrash, because learning is higher, and Shmami know it's proven. Bar Kapora made it Rasha. What is the meaning of a pasuk in Melachim Bet, and also Yirmiyahu Nun Bet? At Nuchanetzer Vayisro vet Beit Hashem vet Beit HaMelech vet Kol Bata Yerushalayim vet Kol Bayit Gadol Sarav Ba'esh. Beit Hashem is referring to the Beit HaMikdash, and Beit HaMelech is referring to the king's palace. And all the Bata Yerushalayim is the way it sounds, the homes. And Kol Bayit Gadol Sarav Ba'esh, what is Bayit Gadol? Is a dispute between Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Shua ben Levi. One says Gadol is a place where Torah is promoted, and one says it's a place where prayer is promoted. The one that says that Gadol is referring to Torah because it's written, Hashem chafetz l'man tzidko, God wanted to make the Jews righteous, Yagdil Torah v'yadir, He made the Torah large and mighty. So the word Gadol is referring to Torah. And the one that says Tefillah is because Yehoram said in Melachim Bet Perek Chet, he tells the youth, please tell me of the great things that Elisha did. And the great Gedolah things that Elisha did, he did with prayer. Brach mehuda avad. I'll prove to you that between Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Shua ben Levi, it is Rabbi Shua ben Levi that said that Gadol is a place where Torah is promoted, because Rabbi Shua ben Levi said that a Beit HaKnesset, you're allowed to make it into a Beit Midrash. So a Beit Midrash of learning is higher, and therefore that's probably what Rabbi Shua ben Levi, it's probably Rabbi Shua ben Levi who said that Gadol is referring to Torah. Shmami know it's proven. If you sell the Torah, don't use the money to buy Sfarim. They wanted to know, can you sell an old Sefer Torah to buy Chodesh, a new one? Kevon, since the Lo Ma'alilei, there's nowhere higher to go. Then, I'm sorry, given the Lo Ma'alilei, since you're not going up, it's Aser. Since you're not going up, it's prohibited. Or perhaps since the Leka La Luye Luyachrina, there's no way to go higher, Shaper Dami, it's okay. Again, do we say Kevan de lo ma'alila, since you're not going up, so it's aser, prohibited? Or perhaps Kevan, since the leka, you cannot la luye go up, iluya achrine, any other up, shaper dami, it's okay. Come and listen. If you sell a Torah, don't buy Sfarim of Nevi'im and Ktuvim. So in Nevi'im and Ktuvim, hu de lo, that's prohibited, which implies that Torah for Torah is allowed. Shaper dami, it's okay. Our mission is speaking if you already sold it. No, if you sold it, then of course you shouldn't downgrade it to use the money for Nevi'im and Ktuvim. Ki kami boila, my question is l'katchila. In the first place, are you allowed to sell a Sefer Torah in order to buy another Torah? Tashima, come and listen. You're allowed to wrap a Sefer Torah with a cover from a Chumash, and you're allowed to wrap a Chumash with a cover from a Nevi'im and Ktuvim, but you can't wrap Nevi'im and Ktuvim with a cover from a Chumash, and you can't wrap a Chumash with a cover from a Sefer Torah. But the Braita says that you can wrap a Sefer Torah with a cover from a Chumash. I'm going to make an implication. You're allowed to wrap a Sefer Torah mitpechot chumashim ein, with a cover from a Chumash you may. It implies, but mitpechot Sefer Torah, to use a cover from Sefer Torah B for Sefer Torah A, lo, you're not allowed to, because you can only go up from Chumashim to Sfarim, to Sefer Torah. Yeah, but read the end of the Braita. It says you're not allowed to wrap a Chumash with a cover of a Sefer Torah, because you're going down, which implies that to use a cover from Torah B for A, Shaper Dummy is okay. So rather, from here, there's no indication. I know that you should go up from Chumashim to Torah. I know you shouldn't go down from Torah to Chumashim. And Torah for Torah, je ne sais pas. I don't know. I'll bring you another proof. You're allowed to put horizontally one Sefer Torah on top of the other. You're allowed to put a Torah on Chumashim. You're allowed to put Chumashim on top of Nevi'im and Ktuvim. But you can't put Nevi'im and Ktuvim on Chumashim. You can't put Chumashim on Torah. And as I said, we need to be careful in school not to put Nevi'im and Ktuvim on Chumashim, nor Sidurim on Chumashim. And certainly not books on Chumashim. The Gemara answer is, Hanocha Kamrit, Chipal, you're talking about placing something, Torah on Torah. Shani Hanocha, placing is different because it's impossible. You've got to place Torah on Torah. The Ilo Tema Hachi, because if you don't say that, how can you roll a scroll? Michrach Heichi Karchina, how do you roll a scroll of a Sefer Torah? Vaka Yativ, it's sitting, Dapa, one page, or a sheet of Torah, Achavre on the other. Ella rather, Kivan the Leafshir, since it's impossible, it's allowed. So here also, since it's impossible, it's allowed, meaning once we do it, when we roll a Sefer Torah, you can also put a Sefer Torah and a Sefer Torah horizontally. Come and listen. Rabbi Bar Bachana said in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, in the name of the Tanner of Shimon Gamliel, a person should not sell an old Sefer Torah to buy a new one. But there, so you see, even for even is prohibited. There I'm afraid of negligence. I'm afraid you'll sell the old one, you won't buy the new one. That's a different issue. Ki kamrina, what I'm talking about, for instance, the Chtiv, the new Sefer Torah is written, umanach, and it's lying there, li paruke, waiting to be redeemed. So I still don't know. Toshim, I'll try another proof. Rabbi Yochanan said in the name of Rabbi Meir, you can't sell a Sefer Torah only to support yourself, to learn Torah, or to get married. So you see, Shmamina, we hear that to sell Torah for the learning of Torah, Shaper Dami, it's good. Gemara says, perhaps learning is different because learning brings to doing. The purpose of the Torah is for the Torah to be learned and to be done, and therefore you're selling the object in order to accomplish the purpose, and that's for sure okay. Isha Nami, to get married also, because the pasuk in Yeshaya, Perik Memhei says, Lo tohu bra, God did not create the world to be desolate, but L'shevet Yitzar, He created it to be settled. But to sell one Torah for the other, je ne sais pas. If the Torah is here, you just want to sell one to buy the other. On one hand, you're not upgrading. On the other hand, there is no way to upgrade. So what should we do? And as I said, the Rif and the Rambam in Hilchos Sefer Torah, Perik Yud Halacha Bet, says that you can't do it. Tana Rabbana, the rabbis taught, don't sell a Sefer Torah even though you don't need it anymore. And even more than that, Reb Shimon Gamliel says, even if a man doesn't have much to eat, and he sold a Sefer Torah, or he sold his daughter as an Oma Ivriya, he will not see any sign of bracha, any blessing forever. Yes, from tomorrow we'll continue Gemara. Now let's do a little bit of Haggada Shel Pesach. We had done Yachatz, and now let's discuss Holach Ma'anya. Holach Ma'anya, this is the poor man's lechem, the poor man's bread. The Cholu Avatonu Ba'ara de Mitzrayim, that our ancestors ate in the land of Egypt. And as I explained before, that as slaves we were also given matzah to eat because the Egyptians did not want to give us time to have rye bread. So even slaves were also given matzah. Take flour, water, slap it together and eat it. Because again, just repeating what I taught you before, that a slave's life belongs to his master, and life is made of time. So the master wanted him to work and work and work, and not spend any extra time in feeding himself. Therefore they gave us matzah. So Holach Ma'anya, the Cholu Avasana Ba'ara de Mitzrayim. Kol dichfen yetev yechel. Whoever is hungry should come and eat. Kol ditzrich yetev yifsach. Whoever wants, whoever needs, should come and make Pesach with us. Very odd that we make this invitation. Whoever needs, whoever's hungry, whoever needs to make Pesach, should come in. I mean, right now the door is closed and we're sitting at the Seder table. Who's going to come now? And in fact, someone told me that in the great synagogue in Yerushalayim, a few weeks before Pesach, the Gabbai would get up and say that if there's anybody here who's alone or anybody here who needs, please let me know, because there are many families that would like to invite you to come to their Seder. No, that's how you invite somebody to a Seder. But at the Seder table, there's no time to invite anybody for a Seder. So why are we saying it? One of the explanations is because this idea that I could invite people to my Seder, I could invite people to spend Pesach with me, it's just an expression. But we're supposed to feel free. We do various things at the Seder night to demonstrate our feelings of freedom, our feelings of what we're able to do, that we're not enslaved, we're not constricted, we're not restricted. So the ability to make that sentence is a sense of freedom. It's not really an invitation. In fact, it kind of doesn't make sense, because one of the things you say there is Kol ditzrich yeseh v'yifsach, whoever needs can make Pesach with us, and Pesach would mean eating from Korban Pesach. The law is you're not allowed to eat from a Korban Pesach unless you've been nominated and counted in before the Korban Pesach was sacrificed. So there's no way that you can invite somebody at the Seder night to join you in eating the Korban Pesach. But if all it is a symbol of the freedom that we have, then it's fine. Then we say, Hoshata Hocha L'Shana Bo Ba'ar de Yisrael. Now we're here, next year we should be in Israel. Hoshata Avdei L'Shana Bo B'nei Chorin. Now we are slaves, in the year to come we should be free. Very often students ask, I'm not a slave, and I've told you many times that there are different forms of slavery. You've heard it from me so many times. There's a physical slavery where somebody is enslaving your body, he's beating you, he's twisting your arm, he's forcing you. But there's another kind of slavery, a slavery of the mind. A slavery where you say, I'm doing it because I want to, but the reason you want to is because somebody enslaved your mind. The reason why you spend money on things that really don't have value, but you feel like it, is because somebody enslaved you and made you feel like it. What would we do if we really were free? What would we practice? Would we really sleep all day? Would we really just lie down under a tree? Would we really just do nothing? Would a person really want to be born and live and do nothing? Would a person really want to be born and live and do wasteful things or useless things? If a person could really be free, Chazal tell us, Ein lecha ben chorin ela mi she'osek b'Torah. If we would be free from all other pressures and all other obligations and all other things that impose their values and their pressures on us, we would be free to roll on the rails of Torah. The Torah was given to us, it is our match, it is our partner. It is our way of life, it's our blueprint. And that's true freedom. But it doesn't feel like it. I'll give you a bad example. There's a pasuk, Yesharim Darkei Hashem, the ways of God are very straight. Tzadikim yelchu bam, tzadikim go in the ways of God. Poshim yikashlu bam, wicked people stumble over the ways of God. So the Dubno Magid gives a mashal, which I may have told you in class, that there was a drunkard, a man who was sitting in a bar, and it was 2-3 in the morning, and he's been drinking, and his head is gone, he's wasted, he's bombed. And it's time to close the bar, and the bartender tells him, sir, time to go. So he gets up and he's staggering to the door, and over his shoulder he turns around and he tells the bartender, hey bartender, you got to tell the guy to build the floor here that next time he should make it a little straighter. The bartender says to himself, or maybe he says it out loud, with all due respect, sir, the floor is perfectly straight, your head is crooked. Yesharim Darkei Hashem, the ways of God are straight. If our head wouldn't be crooked, it would feel very comfortable to keep all the mitzvahs and to learn Torah and just to seek to do God's will. But because unfortunately our head has been tampered with, our brain has been played with, and therefore this becomes difficult, and that becomes difficult, and this becomes unappealing, and so on and so forth. L'shana haba b'nei chayrin, in the year to come, we hope the Mashiach will come, and we will molah ha'aretz deya, the land will be filled with knowledge and understanding. Our heads will become clear, and we will see that the right thing to do is to follow Hashem's Torah. For Sfardim, I'll give you a nice little pshat. We have 3 parts in Holach Manya. Holach Manya, this is the poor bread that our ancestors ate in Mitzrayim. Kol dichvan yesev yechel, whoever's hungry can come and eat. And now we are here, in the year to come we should be free, and Jerusalem. What do these three things have to do with each other? The Chida, in his Sefer Simchat HaRegel, in his Haggada Simchat HaRegel, he writes that there's a pasuk in Eicha that says, Golta Yehuda, Judea was exiled me'oni, literally in poverty. They were exiled in poverty. But there's a midrash that Judea was exiled me'oni because we didn't give Maser Ani, we didn't give the 10% that we need to give in the 3rd and 6th year to the poor people, and also because we didn't keep Lechem Oni. Golta Yehuda was exiled Me'oni because we didn't eat matzah, we didn't keep Lechem Oni. So there are two things that we did wrong. We didn't keep Lechem Oni, and we didn't give Maser Ani. So therefore, we say, Holach Ma'an Yod Yachol Avatana, look, this is the matzah, this is the Lechem Oni, so I'm keeping that mitzvah. As far as Maser Ani, giving to the poor, I offer Kol Dichvin Yeta V'yechel, whoever's hungry can come and eat. I'm willing to give tzedakah. So if I'm keeping the Lechem Oni and I'm keeping the Maser Ani, I'm doing both reasons why we were exiled, so therefore, Shata Hachol L'Shanabo B'nei Chorin. Now we're here, God please redeem us. It is interesting that Holach Ma'anya, the opening piece of the Haggada, is in Aramaic. As you know, and we've talked about this many times, that Malachim do not know the language of Aramaic. And therefore, we pray in Hebrew, not in Aramaic. But there are special times when we don't need Malachim. There's a Gemara recently in Masechta Shabbos said that at a sick person's bed, you can pray in Aramaic. Because Hashem Yisodenu al Eretz Devai, Hashem supports a sick man on his sick bed, and God is there at a sick man's bed. And when God is there, you don't need Malachim, so you can speak Aramaic. On Yom Kippur night, also, Kol Nidrei night, God and his heavenly host come down to see the prayers of the Jewish people. It's Yom Kippur, and therefore we start Kol Nidrei, we start it in Aramaic. And therefore the night of the Seder is a very important Leil Shel Kedusha. I can't overemphasize how Kaddish the night of the Seder is. Hashem gave us a Torah not just to teach the people standing at Har Sinai, but it should be transmitted from generation to generation to generation. Whoever learns Torah with his children and his grandchildren, the Gemara says in Kedushin and in Brachos, is as if he had received it at Har Sinai. Because the purpose of receiving the Torah at Har Sinai was for transmission, not just for reception. The night of transmission, the night when a parent has an obligation to transmit who we are and why we are, what does it mean to be a Jew, how did we come to be Jewish, how do we know there's a God, how do we know that Hashem gave us a Torah, how important is it to practice the Torah, what the Torah meant for us and all the generations before us until this day. This is the night to do that. So consequently, the same way that God came down on Har Sinai, God comes to the Sdorim of the Jewish people to see how this transmission is now being practiced. And since Hashem is here, we can open up the Haggada B'Lashon Arami, because God is here, I don't need Malachim. In fact, I think it was Rabbi Yonasan Eibeshitz in Yaris Dvash, but I'm not sure, I don't have Sfarim here with me, who said that the reason why Mordechai and Esther declared a fast on the 14th, 15th, and 16th of Nisan, and they said, V'tzumu olai, fast, al tochlu al tishtu, not even to eat matzah, not even to drink wine, is because if there'll be a fast, there'll be no Seder. Let God and his heavenly host come down on the night of the 15th of Nisan and see what the Jewish people and what a world looks like when there is no Seder. There is no transmission of God's existence and of God's Torah this Seder night. God, if you allow Haman to destroy the Jewish people, it will always look like this. Have mercy on us. Take a look what a Seder looks like when there is no Seder. And therefore, please annul, cancel, destroy Haman and his decree. In the 4 questions, it's interesting that there are 4 questions. A lot of things at the Seder are in 4s. We know there are 4 cups of wine, there's 4 questions, there's 4 expressions of Geula, V'hotzeti, V'yitzalti, V'galti, V'lakachti. There are 4 sons, many things in 4s. You should know that the Gemara says at the end of Brachot that there are 4 people, 4 kinds of occasions that people need to thank and praise God. They are somebody who was a chola, with a chet, he was sick, and he's better. There's somebody who's yorde, that's with a yud, yorde hayam, somebody who goes down and crosses the sea voyage, and he came across safely. There's the yotze, the yud again, yotze mi beit hasurim, somebody who was imprisoned in a place where his life was in danger, and he got out. And the mem stands for midbarot, those who cross the midbarot. So you have the chola, the sick man, shenidrape. There's the yorde hayam, the ones who cross the sea. There's the yotze mi beit hasur, the one who comes out of jail. And there's the mem, the people from the midbar. That's why in davening we say v'chol ha'chayim yoducha. All chayim, chayim is chet, yud, yud, mem. Chet for chola, yud for yorde hayam, yud for yotze mi beit hasurim. Somebody came out of jail. Mem for midbarot. Yoducha, need to praise you and thank you. These are the people that do Berchot HaGomel. These are the people that in the olden days used to bring a korban totem. The Jews who came out of Mitzrayim experienced all four of these things. They were sick, they were ill, they were beaten, and then we know that at Har Sinai, all the sick people and all the wounded people, they all were healed. They were Yordei Hayam, they crossed the Yam at Kriyat Yamsuf. They were Yotzei Mibeit Asurim, they certainly came out of a prison. Mitzrayim was called Meitzar. Meitzar is tight and closed, no one had ever gotten out, and they got out. And Mem, they also went into the Midbar. So they had all four occasions and all four reasons to thank God, and therefore many things at the Seder are in fours. The questions you know, why we eat matzah, why we eat moror, why we dip one food into the other, and why we recline. Where's the answer to these questions? And the answer is Avodah Miyinu L'Paro B'Mitzrayim, we were slaves to Paro in Egypt, and Hashem took us out. But where's the answer? The Abar Benel explains the questions as follows, and it's a classic. He says the child asks his father, Father, we have happy days in our calendar. We have Simchat Torah, we have Shavuot, we have Pesach, we have Sukkot, we celebrate. We have sad days in our calendar. We have Tisha B'Av and the other fast days. Father, what kind of a holiday is this? On one hand, we eat matzah, which is poor man's bread, which is a sign of sadness. We eat mor, which is bitter, which is a sign of sadness. On the other hand, we dip one food into the other, which is a sign of freedom, and we recline, which is a sign of freedom. So what are we celebrating? Are we commemorating sadness, or are we celebrating happiness? And the father says it's both. Avodah miyinu l'paro b'Mitzrayim, we were slaves. And to remember the slavery, therefore we eat the matzah and we eat the mor. But vayotzienu Hashem b'Mitzrayim, Hashem took us out from Mitzrayim. And therefore we dip one food into the other like free men who eat and dip, and we recline. And therefore, in order to relive from slavery to freedom at the night of the Seder, we have these four items that are visual aids in order to physically relive the story, to live it through again, to make it alive again. A person needs to see, or the Rambam says, at least to try to demonstrate himself, ki'ilu, as if he went out of Mitzrayim. I'm going to stop here. I wish you all a tremendous Shavua Tov for you and your families. These are, as I said, times of opportunity. Some of the things that I've seen and some of the things that people are doing are simply phenomenal. People are reaching within themselves and finding strengths and capabilities and talents that they never knew they had before. Reach out to each other. In fact, each and every one of you, try to find maybe somebody else, a partner that you can review the Gemara with, so that everybody feels accomplished and everybody feels happy and everybody feels satisfied. If you have questions to ask me, you're welcome to ask. But if everybody in the classes, grades 10, grades 11, you can even cross from 11 to a 10 to 11. Don't leave anybody out. Review with each other, learn with each other, feel accomplished with each other, be happy with each other. And also, if you know anybody that's living alone or somebody that's feeling a little under the weather or in confinement, give a call, bring joy, bring a smile to somebody's face. Right? Ask the person on the other side of the phone, give me a smile. Anyway, I wish you all well. I miss you. And Kol Tov, Shavua Tov.